loss of a mind is a terrible thing, but this time, I think I'll make an exception.
My powers, they're draining. Just like Mazora said they would. A small price to pay in the grand scheme of things.
Boo did not doubt us for a moment. Not during any of our many failures.
Against all odds, we cured ourselves. Free from the parasite. Free from the prospect of ceremorphosis. I can hardly believe it. We will not become accursed Illithids.
Not to cast any slight on you, of course. Your present form is but a sign of your gallantry.
It's all right. I knew what I was doing.
I will ensure that all Githyanki know your name and your sacrifice. What you have done today will start a fire that rages across the astral plane. With their lost prince returned, my people will burn away Vlaakith's corruption. And it is all thanks to you, the Illithid who defied a Netherbrain.
I did, didn't I?
I saved the fucking world. And I think I might live long enough to tell the tale too.
I thank you, my liberator, my savior. My people are leaving, and I must leave with them. Come, Lae'zel. We will free the Githyanki and dismantle the Empire. Let them be imprisoned no longer.
It will be done. I will never be free while my people are still bound by Vlaakith's chains. Your will is strong, Rastil. Your name will be etched in our slates. You will be called Mlagir, Liberator. Orpheus, I am ready.
Kulas! Kuthas! Farewell, Gestil, my liberator.
With the Githyanki gone, there's nothing left but the silence of the city, smoldering, waiting to be rebuilt. But it seems that Gale's mind is elsewhere.
The crown. It's somewhere in the Chiontha. If I salvage the stones, I can reforge it. The power of Karsus would be in my hands. But what then? What would I do with it once I have it? A wise suggestion. I felt a hubris once before and landed myself with this orb. I think I'd rather not make the same mistake again. If this adventure has taught me anything, it's that there are things in this world far more valuable than power. You, for example. You were always wiser than me when it mattered most. Besides, growing quite fond of this merry band of ours, but I'd quite like to see what happens to it. I I'm sure Mistra will summon me soon enough, but until then, I propose we celebrate our victory the mortal way, with a drink in our hands and reckless abandon in our hearts. Perhaps we can circle back to that one once the fires have died and the rubble's settled. I do think we deserve a little rest.
It's over. And it's all because of you. You, who were destined to become a thrall. Thanks to you, there will be no Illithid empire, no death god's tyranny. You have earned your place amongst the legends of the Sword Coast. You are the saviors of Baldur's Gate.
Curious. After all the wonders and monstrosities we've witnessed, waking beside you seems more unreal than any of it. I've forgotten what it felt like to greet a sunrise without fear of it being my last. I think we'll have plenty of time to do just that. It's strange. But somehow I woke up this morning and realized the orb feels different. No clamor, no desperation, no hunger. I hesitate to say it, but I think it's satisfied. I'll need to keep a careful study of it, make sure it's not suddenly destabilized by proximity to a rogue pair of Netherese sandals or what have you. But I think it's dormant. That's one worry I can leave behind me at least. Not the matter, but there is a matter I wanted to speak to you about. I've decided to drop this whole Gale of Waterdeep business. It's a bit pompous, don't you think? You're now in the company of plain old Gale Decarius, a most brilliant wizard of intentionally limited renown. At your service. There remains only one matter to be resolved. For me, at least. I love you. More than I've ever loved anyone, mortal or immortal. And you've proven your love for me in more ways than even the greatest mathematicians would dare to count. I understand your purpose lies here, but I fear if I return to Waterdeep alone, my heart would remain here with you. And so, if you're at all amenable to the idea, I thought I could, perhaps, stay. There might even be room for 2 Decariuses in Baldur's Gate. I suppose I am. Tara would be delighted, not to mention my mother. But I'd be just as happy without such ceremony. So long as we're together. You will? Oh, thank goodness for that. We'll need to make the arrangements, of course. The Decarius clan is scattered far and wide, and you'll have invites of your own to send out, I'm sure. But that's all to come. The day is young, and there are thousands more days ahead of us.
Six months have passed since you defeated the Netherbrain. And since then, you have seen more of life than you ever thought possible. You are greeted as a savior, a champion, a hero. but sometimes you feel like something else entirely. An adventurer, a traveler, a survivor. You faced down the gods. You thwarted the grand design. Anything seems possible. But before you can write the next chapter of your story, you must end this one. That's why you're going back to where all of this began, answering an invitation to gather with your allies and friends.
Thou wert called here, some from above, some below. For with thine bond, together thou hast kept the wheel of fate spinning when it threatened to halt. Though thou wert drawn far apart in the months after the collapse of the Absolute, tonight, fate renews thy bond once more. Thou shouldst take care to preserve it. It is a great weapon, wielded in the hand of good. Go. Know one another once more.
Reunited with friends amidst nature. What more could I wish for?
Thank Mother Give. The psionic projection
What a
is
lovely
haunted.
occasion this is.
We get along quite well, I think.
Starting to wonder if you'd show up. Honestly, so have I. Well, come here, will you? It's been forever. You feel a little more substantial than before. Less camping and scrounging off the land, I take it. I'm not entirely sure I'd agree. In fact, I found a nice meadow not far from where I live now. Every now and again, I'll spend the night there. For old time's sake. I'm glad you seem well. Trudy. Wandering, mostly. The adventuring life is almost a tonic when you're not constantly threatened by brain monsters and cultists. I can finally see the world beyond the cloister. One of my first stops was the House of the Moon in Waterdeep. It's the largest temple of Selûne in existence. It seemed like the perfect spot to reflect on my parents, on where they came from. And where I came from too, I suppose. Hard to imagine, isn't it? Me, of all people, in the lair of the Moon Witch herself. Gods, your truest act of heroism was putting up with all that char and drivel I was spouting for so long. Oh, I know they are. I can still sense them, I think. And one day we'll be reunited. Well, I've had run-ins with my former fellow Sharans on a couple of occasions. Word seems to have spread of what happened at the cloister. Now other chapters of Shar worshippers see me as a prime target to offer up to their lady as a sacrifice. Don't worry. I know their tired old tricks better than anyone. They'll need more than a hooded cloak and poisoned blade to best me. Must I? You presume a great deal. I'm joking. Of course I want to know. Tell me all. As am I. It's well deserved. And I dare anyone to argue otherwise. Hopefully, these meetups will become a regular occurrence. It's not that I miss the tadpoles, but at least it brought us together. Now we've got to make the extra effort ourselves. Don't remind me. Someone's always got somewhere else to be. But let's do our best all the same. After all, we've faced down bigger threats than wrangling together a few social calendars. Don't be a stranger.
Pity mutton chops no longer hold any temptation.
He looks coyly at the ground, suddenly shy. He snaps the air and wiggles. He's either miming fighting a many-limbed creature or dancing. It's unclear. He is, however, exhausted. He's had plenty of adventures without you. The joy in the owlbear's eyes is clear. He longs to have a home, and Halsin is perfect.
There you are. I was hoping you'd make your way over.
Very well.
Well now. You can make yourself presentable when you have a mind to. An unworthy one. Forgive me. I am simply excitable. It is good to be out under an open sky once more. My first, since the reconstruction began. We left quite a mess behind. But the city begins to look something like itself once more. Same twisting alleys for purse pickers. Same wooden buildings ready to get burnt by next year's dragon. Same cisterns overflowing. Huh. Baldurians simply get on with it. Stubbornness, civic spirit, plain stupidity. Perhaps all three, but nothing I will sniff at any longer. Harpers have come from half the world over to lend aid. Farmers, masons, healers. My own son, Jord, has been wooed to their ranks. Already he plans crop cycles in Worm's Crossing. Not so for my daughter. Ryan's rejoined the Flaming Fist. Temporarily, you understand. To organize the craftsmen. Though she spends more time locking up comrades for pocketing aid funds. They might learn a thing or two, if they don't expel her. Again. I suppose I am. I tried to steer them clear of my life's work, but they have chosen it for themselves. There is still much to do. People to house, a Harper network to rebuild. I may have little love for this city, but so long as my family chooses to serve it, I can do no less. For all your travels, I hope you have arrived where you want to be. Home. Whatever that means to you. Ah, sentiment. With the greatest affection, I can think of better ways to sour our stomachs. I must inspect the refreshments. You'll never know. Some ne'er-do-well might have tampered with the wine.
Aha! You see, Boo? I told you our friend was near. Ah, breathe deep, Boo. The smell of heroes sings from every stone in this place. Ah, to meet again where your journey began, my friend. An honor. For Minsk and his hamster both. Oh, and for Happy also.
Yes. Honored, of course.
See how your very presence snatches the breath from his chest? And it is no wonder. It is just this day that Happy learned of your legend, while we gazed down upon the very city you saved.
He dangled me from the high hall, upside down, for 2 hours.
The guild should not go creeping in high places if they do not have the stomach for them, hmm? It is well for Happy the strange portal appeared when it did. Minsk's arm was growing achesome. So I have. Though it is a peace made more from blade and boot than it is any sense of brotherhood. 9 fingers forbade any looting of the Illithid's fleshy vessels. And so Minsk guards what remains of the battle site. Even from her. But where Minsk might once have thrown any sneaking scoundrels from the tower top, now I tell them of you. How you ruled the wickedness within. How they might do the same.
Yes, I'll rule it. I'll be better.
Oh, of course. It is still for Boo to decide if they live or die.
Oh, gods.
But enough, my friend! I cannot tell your tale if I do not know the whole of it. Minsk and Boo would know where you have been, what you have done. Aha, the lovebirds still nest together then? Minsk is glad. For what is life without a companion? Though I am thinking yours does not sit on your shoulders, eh? Ah, you are right, Boo. That is, none of Minsk's business. Now, Halfling, Boo will not have you embarrassing him in front of his friends. So you ought to know the rest of the company you keep. Will Ravengard, the Blade of Frontiers, Devil-Horned and Angel-Hearted. Lae'zel of Creshkiller, true child of Gith, and true friend to Boo. Though she will and say it is not so. Lord Astarion, as murderous a monster as any I've known. But you are safe from his teeth. He is unlikely to stoop and split those fine trousers of his. Gale, the man who would be a god, but then thought better of it. Boo thinks better of him for it too. Shadowheart, 2 gods tugged at her soul, but she managed to keep it all for herself in the end. Wait, Boo, did she do something with her hair? Halsin, Archdruid of Arch somewhere. He is a much better man than he smells. And there, the champion of having tentacles, Karlak. She was once very tall and strong like Minsk, but we still like her as she is. And finally, Jahira. If this is a name you do not already know, then not even Boo can save you. Study them well, sneak thief. For the best among them will be a guide for your guild. Heroes who put the city before themselves. Who never falter in their duty. And more than this, who never arrive to a party without even a gift for the host.
But wait!
Go, my friend. Be among our friends. There is much work yet to be done before this one is fit to join them.
Oh, hello. Let me guess, you've got some suggestions about the music choice. I find it hard to summon up the trademark pep these days. You have no idea who I am, do you? I thought Withers might have set the stage a little. Milil. Though if the lack of song prayers is anything to go by, that name carries less weight than it used to.
Musical prayers were once offered to Milil, Lord of Song, a minor deity whose worship faded after offending the trickster god Cyric.
I'm washed up, I'm afraid. You know?
You're bloody right. It is an honor. Finally, the scribe picks an adventurer of substance, of culture.
What can I do you for? Your wish is my... etc. What song do you want? Fantastic idea. It'll suit the whole affair perfectly.
Good song, good company, good wine. I wish it could last forever.
You would think someone of my vintage would be inured to the passage of time. Yet these past 6 months have seemed endless without your company. But now, our paths cross once more. Just as I hoped they would, more like. The Oak Father has been kind to me this past while. Yet I cannot forget the bond we all forged together. It is one that can weather any distance, any passage of time. I know it can, for I feel the longing for old friends in my heart each day. I always do. Should I ever decline, assume a doppelganger has taken my place. That was more than worth the wait. Rest assured, my arms shall be ready. Now, we have much to catch up on. Do not allow me to ramble on. I am eager to hear all you've been doing. In that case, very well. Our community grows rapidly. In 6 months, we have turned what was once a shadowy wasteland into a true home for all. In another 6 months, I would wager the scars of the past will be entirely invisible, even to those who remember them. The old masonry of Moonrise Towers and Rythwin have been repurposed into new homes, and the land is rich with harvests and bountiful trees. Nature and civilization are in harmony, stronger together. My greatest purpose, and greatest reward. Those children have been through more than fate had any right to cast at them, and yet they go on as resilient as anything in nature. I impart what knowledge I can to them, yet, in truth, they teach me far more. The land we saved is theirs, and they will cherish it, I'm sure. Daniel and Oliver shall never want for friends again. You are welcome whenever you like, and for however long you please. Now, please, tell me all, and spare no details. I shall not lie. I have an ulterior motive in wishing to hear all. It is the children, you see, my charges. Their appetite for bedtime tales is greater than I could ever have anticipated. Another story, Daddy Halsin. Another is the chorus that greets me each nightfall. They have all but exhausted my repertoire in but a few short months. No mean feat given the lifetime I have lived. I desperately need new material, please. My reputation is at stake. You would ask to be tucked in next. But whatever the intrepid adventurer needed, I would have been glad to provide. I am all ears, though I never cared for that phrase. A rather unsettling image. You have kept yourself busy. I expected no less, in truth. I shall be able to keep the children enthralled for a few more nights yet, thanks to you. And should you wish to retell of your exploits in person, well, I shall not object to a night off. Now, it would be cruel of me to hoard you all to myself for the evening, as much as I would like to. I shall leave you to the others for now, unless there was anything else. Quite often. They come and go as they please, but with so many playmates to avail of, they are far from strangers. They ask after you often. What you did for them will never be forgotten. I can see it in the land all around me. But more importantly, I see it in their faces whenever they visit. To make a child smile is to dabble with the power of gods, as far as I'm concerned. On occasion, but I prefer not to interfere. Francesca of the High Forest is Archdruid now, and by all accounts, she has proven to be a steady and wise influence. Even Korga may yet find true balance, thanks to her influence. I spend half my days in Ursine form. The children demand it. I had a score of them taking turns riding upon my back just days ago. I'm glad they are so comfortable with the Oakfather's creations. But they must learn that not all are as amiable as I am. A lesson for another time, though. They deserve some joy. As for roaming, that impulse has dwindled, I must admit. Perhaps because I have found where I am meant to be. As did I, but somehow I feel like I no longer need to roam. That I have found something worthy laying roots for. Amazing what can be discovered about oneself, even at a ripe old age. Do you truly even need to ask? Of course. Who could not open their home to a befeathered hero of Baldur's Gate? And I did promise the children I would bring them back a surprise. Oh, imagine their faces. Always. I could get used to this. Before you go, I have something for you. Just a little keepsake, really. Do you remember how I told you I like to whittle? I made this. Ducks are my favorite, but I thought they were particularly fitting in this case. They are migratory birds, of course, traveling far and wide with the turn of the seasons. Yet, they always find their way back to where they belong. Just like old friends find themselves back in each other's company. Oh, I am well aware, trust me. Now, I've taken up enough of your time. Go on, enjoy the festivities.
Eyes deceive me. The gang really is all here.
What a little relief. Your projection holds. It took a dozen Gish's talents, a few stolen psi crystals, and 10 days of effort to conjure it. You can touch, taste, and talk. But your fleshy body is in limbo, the home of the mystical Githzerai. Once the Githzerai were one with the Githyanki, until bloody civil war severed the Gith species. The Githzerai god king Menyar Gith sent word through the cosmos. He knows of your rebellion, and he's agreed to parley. Should the Githzerai join you, you could vanquish Vlaakith in a red dragon's blink.
What's the word on the rebellion? I presume you've cracked open more Kithraki heads than you could possibly count. Diplomacy. Not so different from fighting, I find. You still grip your blade, you just hide it beneath a silken glove. I'm no stranger to it myself. A city is not rebuilt with the simple wave of a duke's hand. Bargains must be made, coin must change hands, tongues must be held in check. Father leaves me to my own devices, though he's got no shortage of advice when I ask for it. Still, I make the decisions I see fit, the ones I think will restore the city to glory. I serve only Baldur's Gate, not a devil of the first hell. I've had more than a few challenges, given the horns sprouting from my head. The people know me as one of the champions who saved their beloved city. They know Ravengard blood flows through my veins. The patriarchs, the aristocracy, the councils of Waterdeep and Arm, their arms aren't so wide open. Still, there's no friction that can't be greased with a sly promise or a proposition. Disbanded, to be formed anew. I don't expect a soldier or street sweeper to see through the schemes of a tyrant like Gortash. But the city's lords and ladies were all too eager to abandon their oaths and bend the knee. My father, Ulder Ravengard, is now Grand Duke of the Triad, Keeper of the Fist. Floric is now Grand Duke of the Crossing, the face of devotion. And I am Will Ravengard, Grand Duke of the Worm, Heart of the Gate. We will yet be four. Until such time and after, we will enact the will of the People's Parliament. Baldur's Gate is nothing without its citizens, both in the upper and lower. Our duty is to them, and only them. Father's back in his element, commanding the Flaming Fist with as brave a heart as ever, and delivered them nary a scolding nor lashing. The likes of Gortash can bend people's minds with a few chosen words. No tadpole needed. Bane's chosen primed the Fist for a war they weren't meant to win. He convinced them there was an assassin hiding in every shadow, that cruelty was the correct answer to crisis. With a few exceptions, fathers pardoned every last Fist. If my forgiveness not be Tyr's will, so be it. I shall forgive them all the same. His words, not mine. He still believes in the bow and the blade, but with Floric's help, he's teaching the Fist a new lesson. Valor is found not in the wounds you inflict, but in the lives that you have bettered. May they all take it to heart. The jewel of the coast will shine ever bright, welcoming the weak and the weary from wherever they hail. We are building new housing, not just shanties, but homes where families can rest their heads, plant gardens, pursue happiness. Amazing what can be done when Parliament and the Council pressure the upper city elites to open their coffers. I'm sure the Silver Shields can make do without a few more jeweled crowns. Of course. I've missed you too. The rush of battles we fought, the heart-to-hearts, the nights around the fire, the comfort of knowing I didn't face the unknown alone. If I had to do it all over again, and I'd rather not, to be clear, I can't imagine not having you at my side. Never. The hexes and eldritch blasts, losing them took getting used to. They left behind a cold abyss where fire once raged. So I stoked a new one. Now the burning comes from within me, not from the depths of Avernus. Go on, the night's young. You shouldn't waste a moment of it. Or waste a single drop of wine for that matter. I plan on downing half a bottle myself. Oops, did I say half a bottle? I meant half a dozen. Thanks, Peter Withers. Even a duke deserves a night.
Old friend. For 2 months, Orpheus trained me in the ways of the comet. For 2 more, I skewered Kithraki bellies. And for 2 more yet, I traveled through Limbo. But to see your face, it brings me even more pleasure than taking a Royal Inquisitor's head.
Limbo, she'd said. A plane of chaos where you might drink fire like water, where you might breathe ice instead of air, and the home of the mystical Githzerai. Once the Githzerai were one of the Githyanki, until bloody civil war severed them.
I do. I approach the gates of Shraktalor even now.
Shraktalor. How well you know the name. The capital city of the Githzerai, and the home of their immortal god king, Zerith Menyar Agith.
Our Gish sent word of the rebellion to Menyar Agith through the cosmos. He's agreed to parley. It's fallen to me to secure an alliance. I was as surprised as anyone when Orpheus spoke the order. My blade is keen as ever, but it was you who showed me that a proper victory doesn't always require a razor-sharp edge. Sometimes, a sincere plea is more persuasive than a dagger against the neck. Menyar Agith is an ascetic. He reached out in good faith. This is his way. It is in this spirit that I must meet him. And if he refuses, I carry on. Gravity pulls me in but one direction. I am a warrior of the comet. I will not rest until I burn Vlaakith's bones to ash and smash her phylactery to pieces. My people will be free. But you've heard that refrain before. Zealous, bossy, insistent. All part and parcel of my undeniable charm. I suppose it is, rather. I'm just glad to be here at all. It has taken all of Orpheus's efforts to conjure my projection, and all of mine to convince him to let me come. Worth it, I'd say. I miss this place. This... Fey Run. More to the point, I missed you. But I'll be back to see you again when the comet has risen, as surely as Kalir will forever circle the sun.
Well, look who it is. My first and oldest friend. The last 6 months have been kind to you. A blessing, no less. Well, isn't that just darling? But I am glad to see you're living life to the fullest. We deserve nothing less, you and I. Of course, I've tried to taste everything this world has to offer. It has been a joy. I've been rediscovering what it means to be alive. More or less. Cazador's mansion has become my palace, and played host to every kind of banquet and soiree and masquerade imaginable. And of course, has seen its fair share of hedonism, clandestine deals, and the occasional disappearance. Whatever it takes to build up my influence over those who matter. I'm spinning my web. Power grows slowly, but I have nothing but time now. Rather wonderfully, actually. I've been making all sorts of new friends. They're the kind of friends that would see me burn the first chance they get. But that's all in the nature of the game, isn't it? But the important thing is I am doing wonderfully. Finally having a life that's worth living. And who knows what's next? There's an entire world out there, ready for the taking. Perhaps the next time we meet, we'll have grander conquests to toast. I did miss you, you know. There is a sense of loneliness that comes with power. We did share a wonderful adventure, you and I. A pity to see it end in some ways. But we have great new lives stretching out before us, and great new adventures to go on. I will never forget the time we spent together, though. And I know you'll never forget me. Until next time, darling.
Ah, soldier. How glad I am to see you again. I'd started to wonder if I ever would. I'm sorry I haven't reached out. I guess I wasn't sure what you'd make of me. I've changed so much. But then again, you have too. Don't I know it? It went so fast, didn't it? One moment we were on the Nautiloid, the next we were here. I'd ask you what you'd been up to for 6 whole months, but then I'd have to reciprocate. And I'm not sure you're ready for the truth. Let us test that theory. Do you remember how my favorite food used to be mutton chops? I'm now far more interested in, well, brains. True. But I've found ways to maintain my values while respecting that which I am. That which made it possible for me to live. I've made arrangements with a healer in the city. When a patient is beyond saving, but still able to speak for themselves, they're offered a choice. They can go as nature intends to take them, or when they're ready, when their goodbyes have been said, their affairs settled, and all that awaits them is pain, I relieve them. When I consume their brains, I am nourished by much more than the physical nutrition. Their memories, from birth to death, become part of me. I've lived hundreds of childhoods, first loves, marriages, feuds, and friendships. I remember them all. And in this way, we all live on together. I think of you too. This life of ours, soldier. It's a long one, if we're lucky. Who knows what the future holds for either of us? It's been wonderful to see you again. Reminds me of old times around the campfire. We used to think becoming a mind flayer was a fate worse than death. I wouldn't trade my life, this life, for anything. Funny how things change, isn't it? Enjoy the night, my friend. I know I will.
There's something strange in your old friend's mouth. What is it? A familiar invitation. He wants you to throw the object he's dropped. But it isn't a ball. It's the astral prism. Scratch barks merrily in something like agreement. He whines. Less talk, more throw.
Bet that'll fit in my pack.
Now, my dear friend, it's been an age, has it not? You're looking very well indeed. Our skeletal friend will be very pleased to see I found my way here, despite my invitation getting lost in the post. Busy as ever. Better that than the reverse, wouldn't you say? Every major publishing house on the Sword Coast has been vying for my upcoming book on the subject of our adventures together. I've gotten quite good at replicating your signature, so you needn't even bother with the release form. You might help me with the title, though. I'm considering The Hero and Me. What do you think? I, me, it's all Volo as far as I'm concerned. Perhaps, once the manuscript is finished, you'd even be willing to write a foreword? Or better yet, I'll write a draft and you can just sign your name. Better still, I'll sign it for you. Hmm? Ah, your success really has been wonderful for my reputation. But you mustn't let me hog your attention all night, my friend. You've many friends to chat to, and I'd love to listen in.
Cursed to put my hands on everything.
Oh, pardon me.
Thanks be to Withers. Even a duke deserves a night off.
A pity mutton chops no longer hold any temptation.
Withers has a keen eye for a nice vintage. Why were we scrounging in barrels and crates for supplies when he could source booze? God, I remember
Withers has laid out quite a spread of food, for one comprising mostly of
bone.
bone.
Loaf of bread just to get by.
Perhaps he wishes to live vicariously through the attendees' appetites.
He's going to kill me, isn't he? Not the big mad bastard. The hamster.
You're quite certain I look acceptable. Our adventures rarely lend themselves to luxury. Or cleanliness, for that matter. It's been some time since I've made such an effort. That's a relief. I wasn't sure if I'd made too much of an effort. Perhaps not enough.
If only you'd applied those efforts to that thing on your chin.
The day I shave this beard, Tara, is the day I shave you. For both our sakes, I hope it never comes. I won't keep you to myself for too long. But while I have you, I want to say thank you for encouraging me to attend this evening. I confess, when I left Waterdeep, there was a part of me afraid that I might regret my decision. But I never have. The chance to see life through your eyes, as well as my own. It's been everything I hoped it would be. I'm delighted to be here amongst friends again. But part of me is reluctant to step away from our new life, even for such a gathering as this. I merely lack the correct motivation. But even the City of Splendors itself fails to dazzle when set against your beauty.
I'm just glad I'm not the only one encouraging you to leave the library once in a while. It does one good to feel the grass beneath one's paws from time to time.
I don't know where to begin in telling people what we've been up to. I suspect they won't believe me. Well, the improvements I made to the High Hall alone should protect it from any passing netherbrains for a millennia, at least. One can never have too many buttresses, after all. Our lives are certainly a far cry from the one I once pictured. Even now, with the orb's fires quelled by Mystra at last, I scarcely dare believe it. Before we met, I fear I was rather stuck in my ways. And stuck inside my tower with a world-shattering orb of magic sealed within my chest, to be fair to myself. I was afraid to so much as dream of a night like this. To hope that my life might amount to more than lonely, bitter disappointment. And then I found you. Standing here, now, I no longer see the people we were. Frightened, desperate, alone. We changed. We survived. And we did it together. I've missed them. I've missed this. No, no. I prefer the warmth of my library's hearth these days. But the feeling of adventure, I confess, that I long for.
Now, Mr. Dekarios, we've spoken about this. You really must find safer pastimes for your own good and mine too.
I have been dabbling with the idea of capturing our adventures with humble ink and parchment. We've tales enough to fill a few good volumes. And when the truth runs out, who knows? My quill might take us on further adventures yet. Now, much as I could spend an eternity in your company, we see plenty of each other already. Tempting as it is to keep you all to myself, would be terrible company if we didn't mingle for at least part of the evening. I love you. Now go on, before I change my mind.
Perhaps I should stretch my wings again. Who knows what people are gossiping about?
Oh, hello, darling. I wasn't sure you'd make it. Yes, you are a very social sort, aren't you? Gale's never been kept so busy in all his days. No wonder his studies are suffering. But such is the way of love, isn't it? I'd like that very much. Thank you, darling. Now, enjoy your party. You've quite earned it, if the balladeers are to be believed. Oh, I've seen every corner of the realms. I just know what I like.
And that's my mother's sitting room.
And the dining table, and the hearth, and above all, your lap.
He knows his wine. Or resurrected an excellent sommelier.
Let's have a look.
This one night is like any other, and yet different. Thou art the savior of Baldur's Gate, until such time it requires saving again. How dost thou feel? I am pleased to hear it. The satisfaction of one's intention is, to my surprise, a rare accomplishment. Enjoy the revelry of the day. Thou deservest at least that much. What indeed? Prick up thy ears and listen. The balance of the world restored. The balance of these lives, mortal and otherwise, brought to account. Hear me, thou heroes, wastrels, friends. I have waited long to tell you these words. It is over. For now. Thou played thy part in weaving the fabric of fate itself, but for every thread you sewed, so did the gods unravel another. Sleep, rest, revel, but be ready, for thou mayst yet be needed. Until we meet again, I wish thee every possible fortune, health, wealth, love, and above all, problems worth solving. To you.